The National Security Committee is meeting as we speak. The emergency meeting was convened to deal with the escalating COVID crisis in India. It is my understanding that stopping all commercial flights from India is being considered and will likely be agreed by the NSC this morning. At the moment, there's only one commercial flight a week from India coming into Sydney. The ban on that one commercial flight will be indefinite and will come into effect almost immediately, or at least in coming days. Repatriation flights, I'm told, will continue, but will remain very limited to bring Australian citizens home. Up to 9,000 stranded Australians are registered with DFAT in India. Those limited charter flights are expected to bring Australians from India into Darwin for 2 weeks of quarantine at the Howard Springs facility. Australian cricketers will be watching this news very closely indeed. Around 30 players, coaches and staff are in India, and I'm told there'll be no special exemption for them. Joining me now live is our Fox Sports News reporter Jim Callanan. He joins me here at the desk. This is pretty worrying for those 30 or so cricketers, staff, people who were there in India. How do they get home?
Well, this is the big question, of course, because we've already seen that 3 players have opted out. One in particular, Andrew Tai, is made it back under his own steam. He's now serving hotel quarantine. And then Adam Zampa and Kane Richardson, basically on the back of that news, said, yep, look, we're going to head home as well. Now, considering a lot of these players have been in a bubble of one form or another for some time, stretching back to at least of August of last year for many of them, even a bit longer for some. And the fears of being stuck in India for an extended period of time was enough to prompt at least these 3 to decide that it was indeed time to come home. But what happens to the 30 others that are there, who are either playing, are coaching or involved in staff? That is an open question. Well, LJ, I can tell you that Cricket Australia and the union, the Australian Cricketers Association, have already been in negotiations with people at DFAT and, of course, the other government officials that they need to be to find out what can they do, because they seemingly aren't allowed to be jumping the queue, if you like. They're going to have to arrange, you would imagine, some sort of charter flight. The costs that come with that would be a bit of an open question, as well as to who foots the bill. But then what happens when they do get back here? Where do they serve their quarantine? Should they take up numbers that should be allowed for other returning citizens? Can they afford to be put up somewhere safe and sound? We have seen other teams do it coming into Australia, and it's worked in the past. So it's not without precedent that we could see something like this. But you get the understanding that at the moment, Cricket Australia and ACA are working hand in glove to try and find all that information out for some of their players, including Pat Cummins, who indeed played overnight. And in the background of all this, actually donated $50,000 to the cause to help emergency services in India. But it's all part of a range of headlines today. We saw on the Daily Telegraph, their big headline today, COVID SOS. They're really putting out a plea to the federal government to help assist them in arranging some sort of charter flight at the end of the tournament. But, LJ, that's at the end of May. There's still 4 weeks of this event to go. And what we're seeing right now, that may have to be fast-tracked somewhat, given the circumstances in India, let alone what's happening back here with limiting returning travel. So it's a rapidly moving situation. CA officials and ACA working around the clock, you would imagine, at the moment, trying to make sure they can get some of their players home who aren't representing Australia at the moment. They're there, of course, playing for franchises in the IPL. It'd be interesting to see how they get to an arrangement to get them home, and then who foots the bill as well. But that's probably a moot point just at the minute.
Well, commercial flights is not going to be an option, so they're looking elsewhere, as you say. Jimmy, thanks so much. We'll check in with you soon. Sure.